Hey everybody, welcome to Moment of Clarity. I'll wait a few seconds here for a few people to show up and to make sure the various streams are running because sometimes it takes a bit for them to get going. So I'll get going here in a couple of seconds. All right, welcome to Moment of Clarity. I'm Lee Camp. I put these out almost every day. You can get them at leecamp.com. In a few moments towards the end, I'm going to go through what's been going on in the Julian Assange trial, some updates on that, some big news on that front. Not the biggest news, don't worry. It's not like they said, hey, you're free, but that'd be nice. But anyway, some interesting and important news. But first, I wanted to talk about this news story that's out there in terms of how dystopian and weird and fucked up our system is getting. A gig economy company has launched that is similar to Uber, but for evicting people. They are the Uber for evicting people. As some of you may know, and I've talked about this before, we've got 100 million people in America facing eviction because unlike other countries that have been able to deal with this pandemic like rational thinking fucking human beings where their brainstem isn't just fucking gelatin, our leaders have done little to nothing other than bail out corporations and larger companies. Some smaller companies have been bailed out to some degree, but much of the bailing out to the tune of trillions of dollars has gone to the biggest corporations, companies, big banks in the world. And that's why Wall Street, despite some blips and bumps so far, has not fully collapsed, is because Wall Street's doing fine for the most part. They're enjoying it as we all suffer, as average people and poor people suffer around the country and around the globe. But I'm talking specifically about how terrible America's done at dealing with this pandemic. Obviously, we're whatever it is, 1/5 maybe of the deaths in the world so far from this thing. But this app that has been created, it's a company called Civil. Civil, which don't you love how they're using words like civil to describe stealing people's shit and kicking them out of their homes? The word civil, this is the opposite of civil. This is divide and conquer. This is turn average and poor people against each other in order to allow the ruling elite to continue their domination. You have to get some good infighting, you want to see some real UFC on the streets between average working folks if you really want to dominate in these times, in these fucked up dystopian times. But a company called Civil says evicting people is the, quote, fastest growing money-making gig due to COVID-19. So exciting, so thrilling. And so here's a quote. This is from a Vice article about it. During a time of great economic and general hardship, Civil aims to be essentially Uber, but for evicting people, seizing on a pandemic-driven nosedive in employment. So a nosedive in employment, a jump up, a spike up in unemployment, a nosedive in employment, and huge uptick in number of people who can't pay their rent. Civil aims to make it easy for landlords to hire process servers and eviction agents as gig workers. So this is disgusting on so many levels. I mean, to begin with, this is because the politicians in this country no longer represent the people in almost any way. One of my favorite studies to reference is the large Princeton study that showed that if a policy does not align with corporate interests, with business interests in the country, then it never gets done in Congress. Meaning Congress may put forward some things that you think are okay or you may like here or there, but unless they align with corporate America, unless they align with the business interests, then they are not getting done. Basically 0% of the time. So that is a fully unaccountable political elite. There is no point that they're standing for the people or doing things that is against corporate America to help people. And so you end up in this cutthroat world where we can't get through a crisis. We don't know how to deal with cascading crises from natural disasters, the pandemic, the various other economic hardships. And these crises coming together, there's no way you can deal with them without giving a fuck about people, not in a way that doesn't just benefit the rich. This also speaks to the myth of America, one of the great myths, which is hard work will set you free, right? Didn't they say that on one of the signs of the concentration camps? Hard work will set you free. Yeah, no, that dream is long gone. That dream is dead and buried. The hard work, the people being evicted right now, the people that are getting hired by this app, and then the people that have people from this app coming to their house and kicking them out of their house and kicking them out of their apartments and kicking them out of their homes. Those are, most of them, almost all of them, are hard workers. They worked hard. They largely did everything right. They did their best to make ends meet, almost without exception. These are not fucking, assholes sitting on a couch being like, all right, I got myself a free apartment. That is not what most of these people are. Most of these people that are being evicted are, generally speaking, hard working, are trying to make work for the people in the world. We can't provide even the simplest, 4 walls and a roof for every person. It's fucking laughable. It's ridiculous that people can't be housed in this country. And I've said before, I would settle for 2.5 good walls and a roof. 2.5. Don't even need the 4. 2.5 walls, roof, done. Deal. Every person. They could put up a tarp or something to fill out the other side. To continue from this article, Civil aims to marry the gig economy with the devastation of a pandemic. Isn't that nice to see 2 wonderful things like that get married? The devastation of a pandemic, complete with signature gig startup language like be your own boss and flexible hours and looking for self-motivated individuals with positive attitudes. Here's another quote from the ad. Fastest growing money-making gig due to COVID-19. Oh, yeah, we already said that one. Its website says, and here's another quote from the Civil website. Literally thousands of process servers are needed in the coming months due to courts being backed up in judgments that need to be served to defendants. So please help knock your fellow Americans out of their homes because we haven't been able to do it quite quick enough. And by the way, the article does say that although this sounds like some sort of prank that might be done to draw attention to how disgusting these evictions are, they've done some digging in, and Civil is owned by a parent company that is a legit app company and has other legitimate apps. So as far as I can tell, this is not a joke. This is not some sort of prank meant to draw attention to evictions. This is literally a company that was like, I bet we could make good bucks by hiring people to kick other people out of their homes. And here's the thing is some people, for those of you, and maybe there aren't many if you're watching this, but those of you who believe the holy free market economy, free market, and you look up and a light shines down, it's the free market. Hold on. There we go. Oh, Jesus. It's a free market. Sorry, needed to do the lighting, but my Foley artist was not good with the sound effects. But the way people are so religious about the goddamn free market, and then it's like it does anything for profit. That's the definition of it, right? There's no moral ideas, basis, foundation to it. There's no ethical consideration. It is just fully whatever can get profit. And so that means there could be apps doing horrible shit, hiring people to do horrible shit, and people do horrible shit if they need money. So yet again, this is the capitalist free market system. It's like, hey, you need $1? I need you to go kill this guy. All right, cool. Yeah, I really do need $1. There's no ethical undertones. You can, when people are desperate, you can get them to do all kinds of shit. it doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it a good job. It doesn't make it something that's fun and exciting. Like they try and say, be your own boss, flexible hours, looking for self-motivated individuals. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And of course people would do it because they need money. And you like I said, you can get people to do anything if they're really desperate. One example I remember is the Native American tribe in, I believe, Arizona, where they was it the Oak Flats mining, where Congress went in front, various Congress people went in front of Congress to lobby to give this mining, allow this mining to go through, which is owned by or at least was owned by a Chinese company. And it's tearing apart holy sites in Arizona. But another tribe has some of the jobs selling water or delivering water to the mining company. And so the Congress people go up there and go, this is great. We got jobs for this other tribe that doesn't give a fuck about the holy site. And it's like, yeah, when people are desperate, you could pay them to dig their own grave. Like, that's what our system is built on, making sure there is an underlying number of desperate people who are willing to do some of this shit that is horrific. And to go back to concentration camps, that seems to be the theme of this particular moment of clarity. There were Jews that were the guards at some of the concentration camps, the lower level guards, and the Nazis could get them to do it because it meant that they were let's see, we had a freeze there for a second. No, it's still going. Many of the guards on the lower level guards were actual Jews that were prisoners, but were also low level guards at these camps. Because when people are desperate, when they fear death and they fear starvation and they fear getting kicked out of their homes, they will do anything. You can pay them to kick other people out of their homes. And again, people should question this stuff. They shouldn't just be, oh, well, I guess that's okay. That's a legit job. Yeah, you're good. Great. But we should get angry. We should unite rather than being torn apart, rather than being paid to actually fuck each other's lives up. I'm going to start an app where you find workers, you pay people to vomit on people you don't like. So it's nice because it helps match you up with a professional projectile vomiter who needs some cash. And then and during the time of the pandemic, this is going to be really useful because that'll piss people off even more. So you find your person who's good at vomiting on cue, and you say, here's the person I need you to vomit on, and they go and they just, and I mean like real, like solid vomit, not some sort of, I'm talking real distance on it, and you really hose the guy down. And so that'd be an awesome app, right? You just, I'm going to create that app. You just, so you can find people to vomit on your enemies. It's like, just because these things exist or could exist doesn't make them all right, doesn't make them ethical. Instead, you have to ask questions about the core economic system that means that this exists at all. That means that this is something that at least the markets consider to be okay, civil, isn't it? And then with my vomit app, I'm going to use all the same, tech startup lingo. Like, hey, we're looking for somebody who wants to be your own boss and flexible hours. You can go vomit on them whenever you like. I'm not going to tell you when to show up to work. You go vomit, you go puke on my enemies whenever you feel like, wherever the mood hits you. I'm looking for a real self-starter, an entrepreneur who just needs a few bucks, is hard-working and hard-vomited. I mean, it's... All right. I don't know. I think you guys get the point. That you got to ask about the underlying economic system that even allows for this reaction to hire people, to kick other people in the evictions. And by the way, the CDC, there is a federal ban. Did I lose you again? There is a federal ban on evictions declared by the CDC, but many landlords are not abiding by it, or they're finding other reasons to kick someone out. It says like you can't kick them out for failing to pay their rent right now for the time being because of the pandemic. But you could make up other reasons. They were being too loud, so you kick them out or whatever. So the really bad landlords, the true assholes, are going to do it anyway. So evictions are going forward anyway. And they really are pressing on. And furthermore, even if they don't evict you until whatever, it's put off till January, February, this CDC ban says you will still owe all of that money, plus sometimes interest and possibly even late payments. So what are you going to do when it gets to January and February and you owe thousands upon thousands of dollars? Well, thanks a lot, federal government. Thanks a lot, CDC. This really solved the problem for 2 months. It's just made it worse. So we have this tsunami of evictions coming on in one of the richest countries in the world, and a place where absolutely housing should be a human right. We can 3D print a house in the span of like fucking a few hours now, and it costs a few $1,000s. You could print tiny homes for everybody, and not to mention there are enough empty homes and houses and apartments right now across this country for everybody to have like 3 or 5 or something. There's plenty of housing. It's just in the economic system we have, it is meant to create scarcity. We live in a post-scarcity world. If the actual resources were distributed in a rational, logical, fucking real-brained way, rather than this fucking half-brain nitwit profit over all else, fuck your neighbor way, we actually live in a post-scarcity world. So the system has to create scarcity to then charge a premium. And in order to do that, it needs to kick people out of their homes if they don't pay that amount of money. And it has to not give out housing for free, which is another thing that we have proven works. In Utah, they gave out housing. It started in 2015. They gave out housing to those who needed it. Anybody who was chronically homeless got a free apartment. And they actually saved money for the state because there were fewer people on the streets needing emergency care, needing police visits, those kind of things. And they found that it decreased homelessness by like 90-something percent, 91% maybe. And then they stopped the program because it was too good. It worked too well. And the fucking capitalist structure doesn't want that. Doesn't want everybody housed, because if everybody's housed, now you don't have people paying half of their daily income towards their rent. They think, well, I'll get an apartment whether I am able to pay or not. Because it's built on exploitation. It's built on exploiting your lives. All right, I think I've ranted and raved about that for long enough, but I wanted to give an update on Julian Assange here. Oh, and by the way, real quick, please share this. Please get it out there. This channel is incredibly suppressed. Everything we do, everything I do is suppressed and not shared with people. So please take a minute to share it and let people know it exists. I do these videos almost every single day, except sometimes. And you can always get them at leecamp.com. So anytime you miss one, just go to leecamp.com and you can watch the new one. Update on Julian Assange, which, so his trial's been ongoing. Most of you already know he's facing 175 years in prison if he were to get extradited to the U.S. There's many unprecedented, ridiculous levels of this trial in such a kangaroo court. I've gone through them before. I've gone through all the ways he's been persecuted and attacked and exploited for being the most accurate publisher who has ever lived, perhaps, at least well-known publisher who's ever lived, considering WikiLeaks has never published anything false. But the update that I think is a pretty big one, and even the NBC News covered it, which, oh my God, when the corporate hacks cover something about Julian Assange, that is record-setting. So here's the update on Assange. Lawyers for Assange, a group of lawyers, put out an open letter demanding Assange's immediate release and for him not to be extradited to the United States. They got people to sign on to that letter, a bunch of the high-powered, high-level lawyers around the world, but not just lawyers. There are many other world leaders who have endorsed this open letter. which this is a new step. This is, this many world leaders coming together to demand Julian Assange's freedom is something new. It hasn't happened, at least not in a collected way until now. So this is pretty incredible. The signatories of the letter include the president of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, two former presidents of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff and Lula da Silva. And by the way, if you get a chance to watch Lula's video defense of Assange, he puts it beautifully, and he is rightfully outraged about Assange's continued imprisonment. Let me tell you some of the other world leaders. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, former Ecuadorian leader Rafael Correa, the National Lawyers Guild here in the United States, Ernesto Samper, former president of Colombia, Evo Morales, former president of Bolivia, Fernando Lugo, former president of Paraguay, Jose Mujica, former president of Uruguay, Luis Zapatero, former prime minister of Spain, Leonel Fernandez, former president of the Dominican Republic, Martin Torrijos, former president of Panama, Rafael Correa, former president of Ecuador, Jeremy Corbyn, former head of the Labour Party in the UK, Slavoj Žižek, the well-known philosopher, Ron Paul, former U.S. congressman from Texas. As far as I know, he's the only U.S. congressperson on the list. I'm sure there's others that, hopefully, that at least former Congress people that would have endorsed. I mean, they weren't able to reach out to everyone, but I hear they did reach out to Bernie Sanders and have not heard back. But anyway, that the main point is that you have world leaders, many of them, coming forward and saying Assange must be freed immediately because this is fucking ridiculous. And it's a fucking kangaroo court where they're not even allowing all the evidence. They've kept the witnesses to half an hour. And basically every time a witness goes up there and explains that Julian Assange is a hero and that he revealed war crimes and that there should be monuments to him, the prosecution just goes up and says this person's biased and nothing they say matters. Also, they heard from a witness in the past couple of days who had recorded a phone call with a representative of the Trump administration who had said he knew that Trump ordered the arrest of Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy, which, if that's the case, then that delegitimizes this extradition proceeding, because the whole idea is that someone is not extradited for political reasons. They are extradited for purely legal reasons, for the crimes that they've committed, although Assange has not really. And it's supposed to not be a political process. But of course, if Trump ordered the arrest of Julian Assange, if that came from the top, then that is completely political. And of course, there's a bunch of other things you can look at to prove this is a political witch hunt to kill the messenger. Stop the person who revealed the war crimes of the empire. But anyway, this is a big step, because not only did all these world leaders come out, but the mainstream media decided to actually give it some coverage for a minute. For a slight second, they mentioned the trial of someone who has, had more impact on the reality we know, the political machinations that have gone on over the past decade or more, and his work is truly incredible, and so everyone should be standing up for him. And what I said on Twitter yesterday was, if you are watching any news outlet that doesn't at least regularly mention the Julian Assange trial, and even more than that, they should be in-depth covering it almost every day. But if they don't even mention it on a regular basis, turn that media source off. And then whatever you were listening to it on, if it's like your laptop, your radio, or whatever, pull that out of the wall and pee on it. And then never listen to that source again, ever. Because if they've made a choice to not even mention Julian Assange and his trial that is going on right now on a regular basis, then they have made a choice to be propaganda stooges for the ruling elite, to be the fucking stenographers for the State Department. They have made a choice to do that and not even stand up for someone who has the same fucking job as them, a journalist. So if they've made that choice, no matter what else they're saying, if they've made that choice to ignore Julian Assange, then that tells you everything you need to know about them. That tells you that they are a completely unreliable source. So, yeah, remember, rip it out of the wall. Rip it out of the wall first, so you don't electrocute yourself, and then pee on it. Very important to do those steps in order. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I hope you will share this. And like I said, I do these every single weekday, except sometimes. So please go to leecamp.com every day and watch the new one. That would be awesome. And please share these, hit the subscribe button, and click the bell icon. And, yeah, keep fighting.